Hey everyone, it's Julie here with TipRanks, and today we had the opportunity to sit down with top analyst Mark Palmer. For 2024, Mark placed number 4 out of over 9,300 Wall Street analysts. He works for Benchmark and covers the digital asset and fintech space. So today we had the chance to sit down with Mark and chat about trends we saw in 2024, how he approaches evaluating stocks, what to anticipate this year ahead, and much more. So let's get right into it. Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Want to start off by saying congratulations on being in the top 10 US analysts for 2024. No small feat with over 9,300 analysts and the tip rank system there. So congratulations for that.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely. And looking at 2024, it was quite the interesting year. In a macroeconomic sense, we had a campaign year there with the election, interest rates, inflation. Now, I know you covered the digital assets and fintech world, but how did some of these trends impact what you look at?
Yes. Well, on the digital asset side, as far as the macro is concerned, the most important factor really was the presidential election, because for the past 4 years and even well beyond before that, we have yet to see a presidential administration, an SEC regulating the space that has been constructive about it. In fact, if anything, the government has been an impediment to the crypto space and particularly to institutional adoption of crypto. Now, for the first time, we have an administration that is supportive of crypto, that has a crypto czar in place. We have an estimated 300 members of Congress who are supportive, and the SEC, instead of trying to impede the progress of the space, is trying to promote its growth. So that was very important. It's not surprising to see that it was really over the last couple of months of the year in particular that digital assets really took off. On the fintech side, interest rates were really the dominant theme that many investors were focusing on. The expectation that the Fed would continue to raise rates, questions about how far they would go in that regard. So there were certain names. One of them is Payoneer Global, a company which executes cross-border payments. And as part of its business model, it takes on customer balances onto its own balance sheet that it can then turn around and invest so that it earns revenue off of the float. Of course, this means that if interest rates are higher, the amount that the company can earn off the float is higher. And that has been the case. So names along those lines that fit neatly into a thesis that works during a time of rising interest rates are definitely on our radar screen during times like that.
Absolutely. And then when we talk about fintech companies and even these digital asset focused companies, a lot of them are new up and coming companies, some startups that maybe don't have a lot of history as a public company under their belt. So what are some of the factors that you look at when evaluating some of these newer companies?
Well, at the beginning, there's always the founder, and so what we are looking at is whether the founder's vision for the company is one that makes sense. Is it one that the founder and his team are going to be able to execute? And is there actually a need for this particular product or service in the market? Something that often gets overlooked.
Yeah.
But that first element, having a founder or a manager or a CEO that has a vision for where they're going to take the company is really important. And within my coverage space, I for the last number of years have covered a company called PAR Technology, ticker PAR. It has a CEO named Savneet Singh who took over this company and had a vision for turning it into the world's biggest software and payments company serving the enterprise restaurant space. Flash forward 6 years, and we see the execution of that plan, having it turn into a very large company that is moving increasingly toward leadership. Hasn't quite gotten there yet, which is why there's still opportunity for investors to get involved. And in fact, that is one of our top picks at Benchmark for 2025. And again, this is one that I would put in the category of being a jockey pick, so to speak, because you really are investing in Savneet Singh and his vision for PAR.
Awesome. That's one we'll have to keep an eye on. Now, another stock that I know did quite well and was in your coverage this past year was MicroStrategy. And this past week, we just heard that they were rebranding to just Strategy with a focus on being the world's first and largest Bitcoin treasury company. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the change of the name really made sense because MicroStrategy had been around for 30 years, and at its core, it had been a software business, that was dealing with microcomputers, hence the micro part of things. Now, MicroStrategy has become a firm entirely focused on the accumulation of Bitcoin by tapping the capital markets, using the proceeds of those deals to buy more Bitcoin. So getting rid of the micro, focusing on the strategy, simply made sense. The company also put the Bitcoin symbol in its logo. It adopted orange as its color, which is the Bitcoin color. And so they're all in on Bitcoin. I think this just helps to underline the fact that if you're buying MicroStrategy or now Strategy stock, you are buying a levered play on Bitcoin.
Yeah. And touching on Bitcoin, obviously, it's been a huge year for that crypto. We keep touching that 100,000 mark, exceeding it by a good bit, but flirting back and forth around that. So some people are looking out at $1 million price targets over the next so many years. What are you guys looking at when it comes to the future of Bitcoin?
Yeah, well, if with any of the names, be it Strategy or others, where there is Bitcoin involved, we have an assumption of what the price of Bitcoin will be going forward. In our case, we are assuming that Bitcoin will reach $225,000 by the end of 2026. Now, how do we get there? Bitcoin is unique in that it has a fixed supply. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins ever mined. And there's only a certain amount of new supply that's coming in the market at any given time. It's all programmatic. So the price of Bitcoin is really a function of demand. And what's really exciting going into 2025 is that we have never seen a better setup for an increase in institutional adoption of Bitcoin than we do right now. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the biggest impediment to adoption by institutions historically has been concern about how uncertain the regulatory environment has been, particularly in the US.
Mhm.
And when it wasn't uncertain, it was hostile, outright hostile toward crypto. Now we have a much more positive situation I was alluding to earlier. And so if we see institutional adoption of crypto pick up, which we are, then it's very likely that the price of Bitcoin will continue to move up because it's just a matter of supply and demand.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, we're seeing a lot more of that broad adoption by big institutions, but there's even talk of the Federal Reserve introducing a US central bank digital currency. Thoughts on that and where that currently stands?
Well, that's the one part of the crypto world that I don't see coming into play anytime soon. CBDCs are controversial. They've been put in place in China and some other countries. The biggest criticism of them is that they can be used as tracking devices. You buy a CBDC and the government knows where your money is and could at least theoretically seize it under certain circumstances. All of this really flies in the face of the ethos of crypto and Bitcoin, which is that those who hold the tokens, want to have true control of those tokens. This is where the whole "not my keys, not my crypto" comment comes from. So we've already seen an executive order from the administration banning CBDCs. We've seen a number of governors who have followed suit. So we don't expect we're going to see anything on that front soon, but we do expect that we are going to see stable coins become much more prominent in the space. And in particular, we believe that the first big piece of legislation that we'll see this year as pertains to digital assets will be a stablecoin bill that will provide a framework around stablecoins, who is going to be regulating them, what are the rules with regard to KYC, AML, that sort of thing. And as a result, we believe that the adoption of stablecoins could spike. And it really comes down to the value proposition. You can take fiat currency, dollars, gold, oil, tokenize them, have them represented by a stablecoin, and then trade them 24/7 around the world with instant settlement. This is something that could revolutionize financial services, remittances, a number of other subverticals within the global economy. So that's a particularly exciting end of things. But at the same time, we need to see that legislation passed.
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of ties into my next question then as well as we look forward to 2025, what and different market trends and regulatory things happening there. What would you say some of the biggest risks and opportunities to the digital asset market is going to be?
Yeah, I think more than anything else, there is the macroeconomic factor coming into play, because as much as the dynamic around Bitcoin is easy to interpret its supply and demand, the demand has to be high if the prices of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are going to be. And what we have seen is that when there are major global events, example, the outbreak of COVID in the second week of March of 2020, Bitcoin is just as impacted as other risk assets. We are seeing some divergence in terms of the price of Bitcoin versus the macro, which is encouraging, but it's still there.
Sure.
So I think that more than anything else, even with this very positive backdrop in terms of regulatory change in the U.S., it's difficult to escape the macro altogether.
Absolutely. Now, I know you mentioned PAR Technology there at the start. Are there any other stocks that you guys are excited about for the year ahead that you'd like to highlight?
Yes, our other top pick at Benchmark for 2025 is Galaxy Digital, which is at its root an institutional trading firm focused on cryptocurrency, but it's got some other really interesting aspects to it. First and foremost is the fact that this company was able to acquire a big Bitcoin mining facility in Texas called Helios back in December of 2022 during the crypto bear market, was able to acquire it for $65 million. Flash forward a couple of years, and those data centers happen to be pretty much perfect for conversion for use for powering AI and HPC hyperscaler projects, which is, of course, very much at the fore right now. The supply of data centers isn't anywhere near the demand for them, particularly that which is projected over the next 5 years. So Galaxy, by having 2.5 gigawatts of data center capacity in Texas, is in a very attractive position. The company has a non-binding term sheet with an AI hyperscaler. We have yet to hear all of the details. We have yet to see the economics of that, but we do believe that when those economics are announced, that this is a stock you want to be owning. And moreover, this is also a company that has been trying to uplist to the NASDAQ in the US for the last 3.5 years. It's currently trading on the Toronto Stock Exchange. It's been very difficult for the company given the hostile nature of the SEC over the last few years. Now we have an SEC that's much more supportive of the space. So we anticipate that Galaxy will be uplisted to the NASDAQ, and this really would have very positive benefits for the shares, increased liquidity, much larger universe of potential investors, all of which is bullish for GLXY.
Awesome. A lot of opportunities there. It's one we'll have to keep an eye on. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Mark. I'm hoping we get to chat again next year when we see you in the top 10 charts again, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Great. Well, we'll get to work. Thanks very much,
Yeah,
Julie.
absolutely. Thanks, Mark. You can check out the full list of Mark's stock coverage over on his analyst profile on TipRanks. Links will be in the description down below. And make sure to check out some of our other top experts while you're at it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you back here next time.